大家好，我是 Jenny， 欢迎来到沉思者 J。今天要带你认识两个让全世界为之疯狂的名字，一个叫路易威登，一个叫可可香奈儿。他们来自不同的时代，却都从最底层出发，一路走向了时尚的神坛。路易威登让旅行成为一种美学，香奈儿让女性从百年束缚中解放出来。他们都是出身贫贱的孩子，都是不信命运的人。今天就让 Jenny 带你走进这场跨越世纪的双雄对话，看看这两位传奇如何用双手改写了整个世界对美的定义。准备好了吗？我们开始吧。第一部分，路易威登的传奇。1821年8月4日，在法国东部的汝拉省，有一个小小的山村叫做昂谢。就在这个安静的山区村落里，路易威登出生了。父亲是磨坊工人，家里非常穷，但童年的路易并不是一个消沉的孩子。他喜欢看马车经过村子，喜欢想象远方的城市是什么样子的。旅行的梦想在他心里很早就种下了，但命运给了他一个残酷的考验。他10岁那年母亲去世了，继母对他并不亲切，家里的气氛越来越压抑。14岁的路易做了一个让所有人都惊讶的决定，他要离开这个村子，徒步走向巴黎。从昂谢到巴黎有将近400公里的路。14岁的少年，没有钱，没有地图，没有任何人帮助他，就这样出发了。这段旅程花了整整2年的时间。路易沿途打零工为生，有时搬运行李，有时做苦力，有时帮人打扫，才能换取一顿饭和一个可以睡觉的角落。这2年的跋涉让他对旅行有了非常深刻的感受。他明白了一件事，旅行途中最珍贵的东西是什么？是你带着走的那些物品。行李就是旅人最忠实的伙伴。一个好的行李箱不只是装东西的容器，它是你和远方之间的桥梁。1837年，16岁的路易终于到达了巴黎。繁华的大城市让他眼花缭乱，但他没有迷失，他知道自己要做什么。很快他就找到了一份工作，进入了一家专门制作行李箱和打包行李的工坊。师傅的名字叫做马赫阿勒，是当时巴黎最知名的行李打包师之一。这个工作在外人看来很不起眼，但其实技术含量非常高。那个年代的旅行一点都不轻松，马车是主要的交通工具，道路颠簸，旅程漫长，行李要能承受长途的震动，要能防止雨水渗入，要够轻巧让马车能够承载，更要够耐用才能撑过一趟又一趟的旅行。每一个好的行李箱背后都是无数次的尝试和改良。路易就在这个工坊里一待就是17年，17年，从16岁到33岁，整个青春都在这里度过。他没有抱怨，没有觉得浪费时间，因为他知道每一天他都在变得更好。他把打包的技术练到了无人能及的境界。客人的衣服无论多么珍贵，无论形状多么特殊，他都能让他们完好无损地抵达目的地。他的名声在巴黎的上流社会慢慢传开了。1854年，路易33岁，他用多年积蓄开了自己的第一家工坊，地点在巴黎的卡普新大道4号，就是那个日后成为传奇的地址。他做的第一个重大创新让整个旅行界都惊讶了。他把行李箱的盖子从圆顶改成平顶。这个改变看起来很简单，但背后的逻辑非常聪明。圆顶的箱子没办法叠放，一个放下去就是一个，马车顶上或者船舱里的空间就这样白白浪费了。但平顶的箱子可以一个接一个叠起来，空间的利用率一下子提升了好几倍。这个小改变让路易的名声迅速传遍了旅行圈。接着他又有了另一个革命性的发现，他研发出一种全新的帆布材料，最开始叫做灰色帆布，后来改良成更耐用的版本。这种帆布非常轻薄，防水性能极好，而且不容易发霉。以前的行李箱外层通常是皮革或者兽皮，又重又容易在长途旅行中发霉腐烂。路易的帆布彻底解决了这个问题。用他的箱子装东西，就算遇到大雨也不用担心。这个优点让他的客户爱不释手。 1855年，巴黎举办了世界博览会，路易威登在展览上展示了他的行李箱，引起了非常大的轰动，订单像雪片一样飞来，贵族、商人、旅行家都想要一个路易威登的箱子，甚至连拿破仑3世的皇后欧仁妮也成了他的忠实顾客。从这一刻开始，路易威登不再只是一个工匠，他成了时尚界的一个符号。生意越做越大之后，路易把眼光放在了更远的地方，他思考的问题是，如何让一个品牌不只是一个名字，而是一种让人一眼就能认出来的标志。1871年普法战争结束之后，路易把工坊迁到了巴黎郊区的阿尼耶尔，那里有更大的空间可以生产。1875年，他又在巴黎的斯卡里街开了零售店，让更多的顾客可以直接来选购。1876年，他设计出了那个让全世界都熟悉的棋盘格纹帆布，黑色和棕色相间的格纹，干净、大方，一眼就能认出来。这个设计一出现，立刻引发了大量仿冒，假货满天飞，让路易非常头痛。为了对抗仿冒，他的儿子乔治在路易去世之后设计出了更复杂的字母组合花纹，那是1896年的事，把 L 和 V 交织在一起的花纹，加上4叶花和钻石形的图案，就是今天世界各地人们最熟悉的路易威登标志。这个花纹设计得如此精妙，以至于100多年过去了还是那么时髦。1892年，路易威登在阿尼耶尔安静地去世了。他没有看到品牌在20世纪的腾飞，但他留下的不只是一个品牌，他留下的是一种精神，对品质的极致追求，对旅行者需求的深切理解，对每一个细节的认真负责。这种精神被他的家族继承，一代一代传了下来。路易威登的故事教会我们什么？他用17年的学徒生涯告诉我们，伟大不是一朝一夕的事，是日积月累的功夫。他用那个从圆顶改成平顶的小改变告诉我们，最好的创新往往是最简单的，是真正站在使用者的角度去思考问题。他用那块防水帆布告诉我们，解决问题的方法永远在问题本身里面，只要你够用心去看。第二部分，可可香奈儿的传奇。现在让我们把时钟拨回到1883年的法国。8月19日，在法国中部的索摩尔，一个叫做加百列波涅香奈儿的女孩出生了。父亲奥本是个行脚商人，走街串巷卖杂货，母亲珍妮是个洗衣女工，家里的生活一直是紧巴巴的。香奈儿还没机会好好体验家庭的温暖。12岁那年，母亲因病去世了，父亲承受不了这个打击，也可能只是不想负责任，他把香奈儿和他的几个弟弟妹妹送进了孤儿院，然后消失了，再也没有回来。加百列就这样在奥巴辛的天主教孤儿院长大，那是一个严肃而清苦的地方，修女们的生活规律而简朴，穿的都是黑色和白色的修道院服装，没有多余的装饰，没有繁复的花边，就是干净的线条和纯粹的色彩。日后香奈儿品牌那种极简而优雅的美学，很多人认为就是在这段童年岁月里种下的种子。孤儿院的修女教她缝纫，这是她在孤儿院学到的最重要的技能，一针一线，一块布料到另一块布料。香奈儿在缝纫中找到了一种秩序感和美感，她的手很灵巧，她的眼光很准确，她知道什么样的线条看起来好看，什么样的比例让人觉得舒服，这些都是日后她改变时尚界的基础。18岁的时候，香奈儿离开了孤儿院，去到了附近的城市木兰。白天她在一家裁缝店工作，帮人缝制衣服和帽子，晚上她在咖啡厅演唱赚取额外的收入。她唱的歌曲里有一首叫做谁见过可可，还有一首简单的叫做可可。咖啡厅的常客们开始叫她可可，这个外号就这样跟了她一辈子，让世界记住了她的名字。在木兰和维希的几年演唱生涯让她认识了一些重要的人，其中最重要的一个是英国纺织大亨亚瑟·卡培尔，人们叫他男孩卡培尔。他是香奈儿人生中第一个真正的挚爱。 也是第一个看出她身上有巨大潜力的人。她资助了她的第一家帽子店。1910年，在卡培尔的支持下，香奈儿在巴黎的贡蓬街21号开了她的第一家店，就是那个日后成为传奇的香奈儿总部地址。她卖的是帽子，她的帽子和当时巴黎所有其他的帽子都不一样。那个年代的流行帽子通常是夸张的大帽子，上面插着羽毛，或者堆满了假花和蝴蝶结，戴起来既重又不舒服。香奈儿的帽子完全相反，没有羽毛，没有花朵，没有层叠的装饰，就是干净的线条和优雅的形状。第一眼看可能觉得太素了，但戴上去之后才发现，这才是真正让人好看的帽子。巴黎的女士们很快就爱上了，因为她们终于找到了既好看又舒服的帽子，生意越做越好。1913年，香奈儿在海滨度假小镇多维尔开了第二家店。这一次，她不只卖帽子了，她开始卖衣服。她的衣服用的布料非常特别，是一种叫做球衣的针织布料，就是男性运动员穿的那种弹性针织布料。把这种布料用在女性时装上，在当时几乎是一种亵渎高级时装的行为。高级女装应该用丝绸，用缎面，用天鹅绒，用精致的蕾丝，怎么能用运动员的布料？但香奈儿就是这样做了，而且它让它看起来无比优雅。它的理由很简单，女性需要能让她们真正活动的衣服，不是只能站在那里被人欣赏的衣服，不是需要别人帮忙才能穿脱的衣服，而是让女性可以弯腰，可以快走，可以自由呼吸的衣服。球衣布料有弹性，穿起来舒适，活动起来完全不受拘束，这就是香奈儿想要给女性的。第一次世界大战的爆发反而成了香奈儿的机遇，战时物资紧缺，丝绸和蕾丝的供应大幅减少，社会风气也悄悄改变了。大量女性走出家门，进入工厂工作，进入办公室工作，顶替了上前线的男性的位置。这些需要工作的女性不能穿着那些繁复的裙撑和紧身马甲去办事，她们需要实用的衣着，她们需要能让她们行动自如的设计。香奈儿早就准备好了这个答案，她的生意在战争期间反而蒸蒸日上。战后的1921年，香奈儿做了一件让整个时尚界都惊呆了的事，她推出了香奈儿5号香水，这是时尚史上最重要的一个里程碑。在此之前，香水通常是单一的花香，玫瑰香水就是玫瑰的气味，茉莉香水就是茉莉的气味，非常直接，非常单纯。香奈儿5号完全不同，他委托了俄裔调香师恩尼斯·贝奥来设计这款香水。恩尼斯用了超过80种不同的香料调配，创造出一种全新的复合式气味，有花香，有麝香，有木质的底调，还有一种说不清楚是什么但就是让人着迷的神秘感。这种气味是现代的，是都市的，是属于新时代独立女性的。香奈儿给这款香水取名叫做5号，因为恩尼斯提交了多个样品，他选中的是第5个。他说他偏爱数字5，觉得它带来好运。这个简单的名字反而成了最有力量的名字。后来玛丽莲·梦露接受采访时被问到睡觉穿什么，她说只穿几滴香奈儿5号。这句话让香奈儿5号成了世界上最知名的香水，直到今天还是如此。1926年，香奈儿设计出了那条改变了全世界女性衣橱的裙子——小黑裙，一条简单的黑色及膝短裙，没有夸张的装饰，没有复杂的剪裁，就是简洁、优雅、美丽。美国版时尚杂志把它比作汽车界的福特 T 型车，意思是说它将像 T 型车一样普及到每一个女人的衣橱里。这个预言完全成真了。黑色在香奈儿之前是丧服的颜色，是悲伤的颜色，不适合出席任何欢乐的社交场合。香奈儿偏偏选了黑色，因为他说黑色能让女性看起来优雅而不费力。他说优雅不是被人注意到，而是被人记住。小黑裙完美地体现了这个哲学，你穿着它走进任何场合，都会让人觉得你是那个最有气质的人。 1930年代，香奈儿又做了一件让上流社会傻眼的事，她让女性戴上了仿珍珠项链，不是真珍珠，是仿珍珠的饰品，而且她自己把假珠宝和真珠宝混搭在一起戴，毫不在乎。在那之前有一条不成文的规定，珠宝必须是真的才有资格佩戴，假珠宝是穷人的替代品，是没有身份的象征。香奈儿完全不接受这个逻辑，她说重要的不是真假，而是美不美，是不是和你的整体造型相配。这个观念在当时几乎是一种革命，但今天我们都知道它是对的。接着要说香奈儿西装，1954年她复出后最重要的作品，也是她所有设计中影响最深远的一个。方形的外套轮廓，搭配修身的裙子或长裤，用粗花呢布料制作。这个设计借鉴了男性西装的结构和剪裁方式，但加入了女性柔美的线条和细节，让穿着者感觉既干练有力又优雅迷人。今天世界上几乎所有的顶级设计师都受到了香奈儿西装的影响，它已经不只是一件衣服，而是一种关于女性如何在职场和社会上立足的美学宣言。说到复出，就要提到一段重要的历史插曲。第二次世界大战期间，香奈儿关闭了她的时装工坊，她和一位德国军官有过一段感情关系，这段关系让她在战后受到了严厉的批评，有指控说她曾和纳粹情报机构有所往来。这段历史至今仍然有争议，不同的历史学者有不同的评价。战后她被迫离开法国，流亡到瑞士的洛桑，在那里一待就是将近10年。这段流亡岁月对任何人来说都是沉重的打击，但香奈儿不是一般人。1954年，71岁的可可香奈儿宣布要复出，这个消息让整个时尚界都愣住了。那个年代的时尚界已经换了完全不同的面貌。克里斯汀·迪奥的新风格在1947年横空出世，极度收紧的腰部，大幅放开的裙摆，女性再一次被塑造成了精致的花瓶形象，优美但束缚。香奈儿看不惯，她说迪奥不了解女性的身体，他们只是在用衣服折磨女人。她要带着粗花呢西装回来了。巴黎的时尚评论家给了她可怕的评价，他们说她已经过时了，说她的设计太保守，太老气，不适合新时代。香奈儿没有在意，她继续做自己的设计，结果是美国的女性买账了，她们爱上了香奈儿西装的实用和优雅。几年之后，时尚界的风向转了，香奈儿再度站上了巅峰。1971年1月10日，可可香奈儿在她常居的巴黎丽兹饭店的房间里去世。她住在那里将近30年了。去世的前一天，她还在工作，盯着下一季的新设计，调整着每一个细节。这就是香奈儿，永远在工作，永远不退场，直到最后一刻。第3部分，双雄对比。现在让我们把路易威登和可可香奈儿放在同一个画面里，看看这2位传奇之间有什么共鸣，又有什么对比。第一个共同点，出身，2个人都来自最底层。路易威登是磨坊工人的儿子，在山村里长大，14岁徒步走向巴黎。可可香奈儿是行脚商人的女儿，母亲早逝，父亲抛弃了她，在孤儿院长大。他们都不是含着金汤匙出生的人，都没有显赫的家世可以依靠，但他们都把贫穷当成了燃料，把艰辛当成了磨刀石，用最普通的起点走出了最不普通的人生。第2个共同点，他们都有一双能看穿时代需求的眼睛。路易威登的时代是旅行大爆发的年代，19世纪中叶铁路在欧洲迅速普及，越来越多的人开始长途旅行，行李箱的需求急速增加。路易看到了这个机会，用最好的品质和最聪明的设计抓住了它。可可香奈儿的时代是女性意识觉醒的年代。2次世界大战之间，女性开始走出家庭，走进工厂和办公室，她们渴望自由，渴望能让她们行动自如的衣着。香奈儿给了她们这个答案。2个人都在对的时间出现在对的地方。第3个共同点， 他们都深刻理解品牌的力量。路易威登的行李箱不只是装东西的容器，它是一种对优雅旅行生活的向往和承诺，是身份和品味的象征。可可香奈儿的衣服不只是布料和针线，它是一种生活哲学的宣言，是对女性自由和自信的颂歌。他们都把自己的名字变成了超越产品本身的一种信念，一种让人愿意为之倾慕一生的精神象征。那他们的不同之处呢？路易威登是一个工匠型的天才，他的伟大在于技艺的极致，在于对每一个细节的完美追求。他的革命是关于物品的革命，是关于如何把一个行李箱做到最完美的程度。可可香奈儿是一个眼光型的天才，他的伟大在于对时代精神的敏锐感知，在于敢于打破所有既有规则的勇气。他的革命是关于人的革命，是关于如何让女性从时尚的枷锁中解放出来，一个改变了我们如何携带物品，一个改变了我们如何穿戴自身。还有一个有趣的对比，是他们品牌的传承方式。路易威登建立的是一个家族企业，他的儿子乔治继承了事业，把品牌推向了新的高度。那个举世闻名的 LV 字母花纹就是乔治的设计。路易威登的品牌在家族的守护下，一代一代把工匠精神传了下来。可可香奈儿则是一个人的王朝，他终身未婚，没有子嗣继承他的事业。他去世之后，品牌的未来一度非常不明朗，直到德国设计师卡尔拉格斐在1983年接手了香奈儿的创意总监职位，才让香奈儿在现代重新绽放出耀眼的光芒。卡尔拉格斐在这个位置上一坐就是36年，直到2019年他去世为止。今天两个品牌都已经是全球顶级奢侈品的代名词。路易威登是 LVMH 集团的核心旗舰品牌， LVMH 是世界最大的奢侈品集团，旗下还有迪奥、纪梵希、芬迪、轩尼诗、芈月等众多顶级品牌，估值超过3000亿美元。可可香奈儿的品牌则选择了一条截然不同的路，它至今仍然是一个完全独立的私人公司，没有上市，不卖给任何集团，拒绝所有外部投资者。这个决定本身就是最香奈儿式的态度，自由、独立，不向外界的压力妥协。第4部分，他们留下了什么？每次 Jenny 介绍完一位大师的故事，都会思考一个问题：他们留下了什么？这个问题的答案往往比故事本身更深刻。路易威登留下了一种对旅行的信念，他相信旅行不只是从一个地方移动到另一个地方，旅行是一种探索的精神，是对世界充满好奇心的生命态度。而好的行李、好的工具，是这种精神的物质体现。它让我们明白，一件物品可以不只是物品，它可以是一种梦想的载体。可可香奈儿留下了一种对女性的信念，她相信女性不应该是被装饰的花瓶，不应该是需要别人帮忙才能穿脱衣服的精致摆设。女性应该是自由的，是行动的，是有力量的。她的设计是这种信念的视觉宣言，每一件粗花的西装，每一条小黑裙，都在说同一句话：你有资格自由地活着。两个人合在一起，他们留下了一种更广大的信念，那就是美不是特权阶级的专利，美是每一个人都有资格追求的东西。路易威登出身穷苦，却创造了世界最顶尖的奢侈品牌。可可香奈儿从孤儿院走出来，却定义了现代女性的优雅。他们的故事说的是，你从哪里来不重要，重要的是你愿意用什么样的眼光看这个世界，愿意用什么样的双手去改变它。路易威登和可可香奈儿，一个让旅行变成了美学，一个让女性找到了自由。这两个从最底层出发的灵魂，用他们的一生告诉我们，你不需要含着金汤匙出生，你只需要一双愿意工作的手和一颗永远不放弃的心。这就是本集沉思者 J 的故事。希望路易威登和可可香奈儿的传奇能给你带来一些力量和启发。我们下次见咯。Hello everyone, I am Jenny. Welcome to Thinker J. Today I want to introduce you to two names that have made the entire world go absolutely mad. One is Louis Vuitton. The other is Coco Chanel. They came from different eras. Yet both started from the very bottom. And both made their way all the way up to the throne of fashion. Louis Vuitton turned travel into a form of aesthetic experience. Chanel liberated women from 100 years of constraint. Both were children born into poverty. Both refused to accept the fate they were handed. Today, Jenny is going to take you into this extraordinary conversation that spans across centuries. Let us see how these two legends used their own hands to rewrite the world definition of beauty. Are you ready? Let us begin. Part 1. The Legend of Louis Vuitton. On the 4th of August, 1821, in the Jura region of eastern France, there was a tiny mountain village called Anchy. It was in this quiet little hamlet that Louis Vuitton was born. His father was a mill worker. The family was desperately poor. But young Louis was not a dejected child. He loved to watch horse-drawn carriages pass through the village. He loved to imagine what the great cities beyond the mountains might look like. The dream of travel was planted in his heart very early. But fate had a cruel test waiting for him. When he was 10 years old, his mother died. His stepmother was not kind to him. The atmosphere at home became increasingly suffocating. At the age of 14, Louis made a decision that astonished everyone around him. He was going to leave the village. He would walk to Paris on foot. From Anchy to Paris is nearly 400 kilometers. A 14-year-old boy. No money. No map. No one to help him. And he simply set off. The journey itself became a kind of school. Every day on the road taught him something that no classroom could have offered. He learned that a weary traveler needs very little to feel human again. A dry place to sleep. Something warm to eat. And above all, the knowledge that the things they carry are safe. He watched wealthy travelers fret over their damaged or waterlogged luggage. He saw how much distress a ruined trunk could cause. He stored every observation carefully in his mind. Without knowing it, he was preparing for everything that was to come. The journey took 2 full years. Louis worked odd jobs along the way to survive. Sometimes he carried luggage for travelers. Sometimes he did hard labor. Sometimes he swept floors for shop owners. All to earn a meal and a corner somewhere to sleep. These 2 years of wandering gave him a profound understanding of travel. He came to understand one fundamental truth. The most precious thing on a journey is what you carry with you. Luggage is the traveler's most faithful companion. A great trunk is not simply a container for belongings. It is the bridge between you and the distant place you are trying to reach. In 1837, 16-year-old Louis finally arrived in Paris. The dazzling enormity of the great city overwhelmed him. But he did not lose his way. He knew exactly what he needed to do. Very quickly he found work. He joined a workshop that specialized in making and packing luggage trunks. His master craftsman was a man named Monsieur Marichal, one of the most respected luggage packers in Paris at the time. This kind of work looked unremarkable from the outside. But it actually demanded an extraordinary level of skill. Travel in that era was nothing like what we experience today. Horse-drawn carriages were the primary means of transport. The roads were rough and the journeys were brutally long. Trunks had to withstand the constant jolting and vibration of a long road journey. They had to keep moisture from getting inside. They had to be light enough for a carriage to carry. And they had to be durable enough to survive journey after journey without falling apart. Every great trunk was the product of countless attempts and refinements. Louis stayed in that workshop for 17 years. 17 years. From the age of 16 to 33. His entire youth spent in that single place. He never complained. He never felt he was wasting his time. Because he knew that every single day he was becoming better. He refined his packing technique until no one else in Paris could match it. No matter how precious a client garments were. No matter how unusual their shape. Louis could ensure they arrived at their destination in perfect condition. His reputation spread quietly through the upper circles of Parisian society. He learned that the wealthy clients of Paris had very specific needs. A countess traveling to Vienna needed her gowns to arrive without a single crease. A diplomat bound for Istanbul needed his documents protected from sea spray and river damp. A gentleman explorer needed a trunk that could survive the roughest mountain road. Each client was a different puzzle. Each commission was a chance to learn something new. Louis absorbed all of it. He asked questions. He experimented. He failed and tried again. The years passed and his skill grew and grew. In 1854, Louis was 33 years old. Using the savings of a lifetime, he opened his first workshop. The location was 4 Rue Neuve des Capucines in Paris. The address that would one day become legendary. His first major innovation astonished the entire travel world. He changed the lid of the trunk from rounded to flat. It sounds like a small thing, but the logic behind it was brilliant. A rounded lid cannot be stacked. One trunk goes down and that is the end of it. The space on top of a carriage or inside a ship hold was simply wasted. A flat lid can be stacked, one on top of another. The efficient use of space improved dramatically. This single small change made his name spread like fire through the traveling world. Then came another revolutionary development. He created an entirely new canvas material for the exterior of his trunks. Initially called Trianon canvas, later refined into even more durable versions. This canvas was remarkably lightweight. It had excellent water resistance, and it did not succumb to mold. Previously, the outer layer of luggage trunks was typically leather or animal hide, heavy and prone to rotting on long journeys. Louis Canvas solved all of these problems at once. Pack your things in a Vuitton trunk. Even if you get caught in a downpour, there is nothing to worry about. His clients were devoted. In 1855, Paris hosted the World Exhibition. The timing could not have been better. The mid-19th century was an era of breathtaking change in transportation. Railways were spreading across Europe at astonishing speed. The steam engine was shrinking the world. A journey that had once taken weeks now took days. More people than ever before were traveling for business and for pleasure. And all of those travelers needed luggage. Louis had positioned himself at exactly the right moment, with exactly the right product. Louis Vuitton displayed his trunks at the exhibition. The response was overwhelming. Orders arrived like snowflakes in a blizzard. Nobles, merchants, and explorers all wanted a Vuitton trunk. Even Empress Eugenie, wife of Napoleon III, became one of his loyal customers. From that moment onward, Louis Vuitton was no longer just a craftsman. He had become a symbol. As the business grew, Louis set his sights further ahead. He asked himself a deeper question. How do you make a brand more than just a name? How do you make it something that anyone in the world can recognize at a single glance? After the Franco-Prussian War of 1871, Louis relocated his workshop to Asnières, on the outskirts of Paris. There was more space there to produce at scale. In 1875, he opened a retail store on the Rue Scribe in Paris, bringing the brand directly to the clients who wanted it most. In 1876, he created the legendary checkerboard canvas pattern. The striking grid of brown and black that the entire world now recognizes. Clean, bold, unmistakable. This pattern immediately triggered a flood of imitations. Counterfeit goods appeared everywhere. It became a serious headache for the brand. To combat the fakes, after Louis passed away, his son Georges designed an even more intricate pattern. The interlocking LV monogram, combined with four-leaf flowers and diamond shapes. That was in 1896. This is the Louis Vuitton logo that people around the world know best today. The design was so beautifully conceived that more than 100 years later it still looks modern. In 1892, Louis Vuitton passed away quietly at his home in Asnières. He never saw the brand ascent in the 20th century. But what he left behind was more than a brand. He left behind a spirit. The relentless pursuit of quality. A deep and genuine understanding of what travelers needed. Absolute responsibility for every single detail. This spirit was inherited by his family and passed down across generations. What does the story of Louis Vuitton teach us? His 17 years as an apprentice craftsman tell us that greatness is never built overnight. It is built through daily accumulation. Day after day after day. The simple change from a rounded lid to a flat one tells us that the best innovation is often the simplest. It comes from genuinely standing in the shoes of the person who will use the thing you are making, and truly thinking through what they need. Part 2. The Legend of Coco Chanel. Now let us turn the clock back to France in 1883. On the 19th of August, in the town of Saumur in central France, a girl named Gabrielle Bonheur Chanel was born. Her father Albert was a traveling street vendor. He walked from town to town selling small goods. Her mother Jean was a laundry worker. The family life was always scraped thin. Gabrielle never had the chance to truly experience the warmth of a family. When she was 12 years old, her mother died of illness. Her father either could not bear the grief or simply did not want the responsibility. He took Gabrielle and her siblings to a Catholic orphanage. And then he disappeared. He never came back. Gabrielle grew up in the Aubazine orphanage in central France. It was a serious and austere place. The nuns lived by a disciplined and simple routine. They wore black and white habits. No excessive ornamentation. No elaborate trimmings. Just clean lines and pure colors. Many people believe that the minimalist and elegant aesthetic that would one day define the Chanel brand was planted as a seed during those childhood years in the orphanage. The nuns taught her to sew. It was the most important skill she learned there. Stitch by stitch. From one piece of fabric to another. In sewing, Gabrielle found a sense of order and beauty. Her hands were quick and capable. Her eye was precise. She knew instinctively what lines looked beautiful. What proportions made a person feel at ease. All of this would become the foundation of the revolution she would later lead in fashion. Looking back, it is almost impossible not to see a kind of poetic logic in this. The future queen of fashion learned her craft in the most austere of environments. Where there was nothing but function. Nothing but necessity. No excess. No waste. The idea that beauty could emerge from restraint rather than abundance. That elegance was about removing things rather than adding them. These lessons were not taught in words. They were absorbed through years of living a life stripped down to essentials. At the age of 18, she left the orphanage. She went to the nearby city of Moulins. During the day she worked in a tailor shop, sewing clothes and hats for paying customers. At night she sang in cafes to earn a little extra money. One of the songs she performed was called Who Has Seen Coco? Another was simply called Coco. The regulars at the cafes began calling her Coco. The nickname stuck for the rest of her life. And it is how the world remembers her. Her years performing in Moulins and Vichy brought her into contact with some important people. The most significant of them was a British textile magnate named Arthur Capel. People called him Boy Capel. He was the first great love of her life. And the first person who truly recognized the enormous potential she carried inside her. He financed her first hat shop. In 1910, with his support, Chanel opened her first boutique at 21 Rue Cambon in Paris. That street would one day become the legendary headquarters of the Chanel empire. She sold hats. But her hats were unlike anything else being sold in Paris at the time. The fashionable hats of that era were typically enormous dramatic creations. Decorated with feathers. Piled with artificial flowers and ribbons. Exhausting to wear and utterly impractical. Her hats were the complete opposite. No feathers. No flowers. No layers of decoration. Just clean lines and elegant shapes. At first glance they might seem too plain. But once a woman put one on, she understood immediately. This was what a truly beautiful hat looked like. The ladies of Paris quickly fell in love. Because they had finally found hats that were both beautiful and comfortable to wear. Word spread quickly through the social circles of Paris. Actresses began wearing her hats on stage. And when an actress in Paris wore something, every fashionable woman in the city wanted it. The connection between the stage and fashion was extraordinarily powerful in that era. What the performers wore became what everyone wanted to wear. Chanel understood this dynamic intuitively. She cultivated relationships with performers and artists. She understood that fashion was not just about clothes. It was about aspiration. It was about the image of a life that people wanted to live. Business grew. In 1913, Chanel opened her second shop in the seaside resort town of Deauville. This time she was not just selling hats. She began selling clothes. The fabric she used was very unusual. It was jersey knit. The kind of stretchy knitted fabric that male athletes wore. Using this material for women fashion was considered almost scandalous at the time. Fine women clothing was supposed to be made from silk, satin, velvet, exquisite lace. How could anyone use athletic fabric? But Chanel went ahead and did it anyway. And she made it look impossibly elegant. Her reasoning was simple. Women needed clothes that actually allowed them to move. Not clothes they could only stand perfectly still in while being admired. Not clothes that required another person help to put on and take off. Clothes that allowed women to bend down, to walk quickly, to breathe freely. Jersey fabric has stretch. It is comfortable against the body. And it places absolutely no restriction on movement. This was what she wanted to give women. The outbreak of the First World War turned out to be an unexpected opportunity for her. Wartime scarcity meant that silk and lace were suddenly in short supply. The social mood shifted quietly but profoundly. Vast numbers of women were leaving their homes and entering the workforce. Into factories. Into offices. Filling the roles of the men who had gone to the front. These working women could not wear elaborate petticoats and tight corsets to do their jobs. They needed practical clothing. They needed designs that let them move freely. Chanel had already prepared the answer. Her business flourished even as the war raged. In 1921, the year after the war ended, Chanel did something that stunned the entire fashion world. She launched Chanel No. 5 perfume. This moment is one of the most important milestones in the entire history of fashion. Before this, perfume was almost always a single floral scent. A rose perfume smelled like roses. A jasmine perfume smelled like jasmine. Very direct. Very simple. Chanel No. 5 was entirely different. She commissioned a Russian-born perfumer named Ernest Bose to create something completely new. Ernest blended more than 80 different aromatic ingredients, creating a compound scent unlike anything that had existed before. It had floral notes. It had musk. It had a woody base. And it had a mysterious quality that was hard to name but impossible to forget. This scent was modern. It was urban. It belonged to a new kind of independent woman. Chanel named the perfume No. 5 because it was the fifth sample Ernest submitted. She said she had always liked the No. 5. She felt it brought good fortune. That simple name turned out to be the most powerful name she could have chosen. Years later, when Marilyn Monroe was asked in an interview what she wore to bed, she replied that she wore only a few drops of Chanel No. 5. That single answer made No. 5 the most famous perfume in the world. It remains so today. The launch of No. 5 represented something far more significant than a new product. It was a statement about who women were and who they were becoming. Previous perfumes had told women they should smell like flowers, like gardens, like nature in its most decorative form. No. 5 told women something different. It said they were complex, sophisticated, modern, impossible to reduce to a single note. Just like the women themselves. This fragrance did not just sell in bottles. It sold a vision of femininity that had never existed in perfume before. And once women experienced it, they never wanted to go back. In 1926, Chanel designed a dress that changed the wardrobes of women all over the world forever. The little black dress. A simple knee-length dress in black. No exaggerated decoration. No complicated construction. Just simplicity. Elegance. Beauty. An American fashion magazine compared it to the Ford Model T automobile, meaning it would become as universal as the Model T. Something that every woman could own and wear. This prediction came completely true. Black had previously been the color of mourning. The color of grief. Not appropriate for any joyful social occasion. Chanel chose black anyway. Because she said black made women look effortlessly elegant. She said that elegance is not about being noticed. It is about being remembered. The little black dress embodied this philosophy perfectly. You could wear it into any room. And you would always be the person with the most presence. The little black dress deserves a deeper look. Because it was not simply a design choice. It was a philosophical statement. Before Chanel, the purpose of women's clothing was largely to display status. To show how much fabric a family could afford. How many servants were needed to maintain the wardrobe. How elaborate and costly the lace and embroidery were. Clothing was a display of wealth. And black, the color that could not perform this function, was reserved for mourning. Chanel inverted this entirely. She said that the most elegant choice was also the most minimal choice. She said that true style was about the person inside the clothes, not the clothes themselves. A woman in a simple black dress forces the observer to look at her face, her posture, her presence, her personality. The dress becomes a frame rather than a painting. And the woman herself becomes the subject of the composition. This was radical thinking in 1926. It remains one of the most profound ideas in the history of fashion. In the 1930s, Chanel did something else that left the upper classes speechless. She got women wearing imitation pearl necklaces. Not real pearls. Copies. And she herself mixed fake jewelry and real jewelry and wore them all together without a second thought. Before this, there was an unspoken rule in society. Jewelry had to be genuine to be worth wearing. Imitation jewelry was for people who could not afford the real thing. It was a mark of low status. Chanel completely rejected this logic. She said what mattered was not whether it was real. What mattered was whether it was beautiful. Whether it worked with your overall look. This idea was practically a revolution at the time. But today we all know she was right. Then there is the Chanel suit. Her most important work after her 1954 comeback. And the most far-reaching of all her designs in terms of lasting influence. A square-cut jacket with clean lines. Paired with a tailored skirt or trousers. Made from tweed fabric. This design borrowed the structure and cut of the men's suit. But added the soft curves and refined details of the feminine form. The result was something that made the woman wearing it feel both capable and graceful at the same time. Today, virtually every great designer in the world has been shaped by the Chanel suit. It is no longer just a garment. It is an aesthetic declaration about how women can stand their ground in the workplace and in the world. Speaking of the comeback brings us to an important historical interlude. During the Second World War, Chanel closed her fashion house. She had a romantic relationship with a German officer. This relationship drew fierce criticism after the war. Some accounts suggest she may have had contact with German intelligence services during the occupation. This part of her history remains contested to this day. Different historians reach different conclusions. After the war, she was compelled to leave France. She went into exile in Lausanne, Switzerland. And she stayed there for nearly 10 years. This period of exile would have crushed most people. But Chanel was not most people. In 1954, Coco Chanel announced she was coming back. She was 71 years old. The news left the fashion world stunned. The landscape of fashion had transformed completely during her absence. Christian Dior's new look had exploded onto the scene in 1947. An extreme hourglass silhouette with cinched waists and enormous voluminous skirts. Women were once again being shaped into the image of delicate ornamental figures. Beautiful, but constrained. Chanel was not impressed. She said Dior and his colleagues did not understand women's bodies. They were simply using clothes to torture women. She was coming back with her tweed suits. The Paris critics were brutal. They said she was finished. They said her designs were too conservative, too old-fashioned, unsuited to the modern era. Chanel paid them no attention. She kept designing. And it turned out that American women absolutely loved her work. They fell completely in love with the practicality and elegance of the Chanel suit. Within a few years, the winds of fashion had shifted. Chanel had risen back to the very top. On January 10, 1971, Coco Chanel died in her room at the Ritz Hotel in Paris. She had called that room home for nearly 30 years. The day before she died, she was still working. Reviewing the designs for her next collection. Adjusting every detail. That was Chanel. Always working. Never stepping off the stage. Never giving up. Right until the very last moment. Part 3. The contrast. And what of the brands they created? The question of what a brand truly is becomes fascinating when you examine these two examples. A brand is not a logo. It is not a monogram or a pattern or a bottle shape. A brand is a promise. A promise that is renewed with every product made. With every store experience. With every piece of craftsmanship that leaves the workshop. When Louis Vuitton placed his flat-top trunks on the market, he was making a promise. He was promising that every trunk he made would be the finest trunk that could be made. He was promising that the traveler who trusted him with their belongings would not be disappointed. That promise is still being kept today. When Chanel stitched her first jersey garment and sold it to a Parisian woman who could not believe how free she felt while wearing it, she was making a promise too. She was promising that she understood what women needed. That she would always put the comfort and confidence of the wearer above the ornamental demands of fashion. That promise has also endured. More than a century has passed since these promises were first made. The world has changed almost beyond recognition. But the promises hold. That is what a true brand is. Not a trademark. A covenant. Now let us place Louis Vuitton and Coco Chanel in the same frame. Let us look at what these two legends shared. And where they diverged. The first thing they had in common was their origins. Both came from the very bottom of society. Louis Vuitton was the son of a millworker. He grew up in a mountain village. He walked 400 kilometers to Paris at the age of 14. Coco Chanel was the daughter of a traveling vendor. Her mother died young. Her father abandoned her. She grew up in an orphanage. Neither of them was born with a silver spoon. Neither had a distinguished family name to lean on. But both of them treated poverty as fuel. And hardship as the whetstone on which they sharpened themselves. They used the most ordinary of starting points to build the most extraordinary of lives. There is something deeply moving about this parallel. Two people who had every reason to be defined by their origins. Both of them chose to define their origins instead. Louis did not spend his life resenting the poverty of his mountain village. He carried it with him as a kind of compass. It kept him honest. It kept him grounded. It kept him focused on what actually mattered. When you have walked 400 kilometers with nothing, you understand in your bones what quality means. You understand what it means to rely on something completely. Chanel did not spend her life mourning the childhood she was denied. She used the simplicity of the orphanage as a lens. A way of seeing through the noise and clutter of fashion. Straight to what was essential. Straight to what was true. Their poverty did not limit them. It shaped them into something that wealth alone could never have produced. The second thing they shared was an ability to see exactly what their era demanded. Louis Vuitton lived in an era of explosive growth and travel. In the mid-19th century, railways spread rapidly across Europe. More people were traveling farther than ever before. Demand for quality luggage was surging. Louis saw that opportunity. And seized it with the finest craftsmanship and the smartest design he could produce. Coco Chanel lived in an era when the consciousness of women was awakening. In the years surrounding both world wars, women were moving out of the home, into factories, into offices, into the world. They needed clothing that allowed them to move freely. Chanel gave them exactly that answer. Both of them appeared at the right moment in the right place. The third thing they shared was a profound understanding of the power of a brand. A Louis Vuitton trunk was not simply a piece of luggage. It was a symbol of aspiration, a declaration of a particular way of moving through the world. A Chanel dress was not simply fabric and thread. It was a manifesto, a celebration of female freedom and self-confidence. Both of them transformed their names into something that transcended the products they made. A kind of belief that people are willing to devote themselves to for a lifetime. And where did they differ? Louis Vuitton was a craftsman genius. His greatness lay in the mastery of skill, in the relentless and meticulous pursuit of perfection in every single detail. His revolution was a revolution of objects, of how to make a trunk as perfectly as it could possibly be made. Coco Chanel was a visionary genius. Her greatness lay in her uncanny sensitivity to the spirit of the times, and in the courage to break every existing rule without hesitation. Her revolution was a revolution of people, of how to free women from the chains that fashion had placed on them. One changed how we carry our belongings through the world. The other changed how we carry ourselves. There is also a fascinating contrast in how their legacies were carried forward. Louis Vuitton built a family enterprise. His son Georges inherited the business and took the brand to new heights. The iconic LV monogram that the whole world recognizes was Georges' creation. The Vuitton family, across multiple generations, safeguarded and transmitted the spirit of craftsmanship that Louis had established. Coco Chanel was a one-woman dynasty. She never married. She had no heirs to pass the torch to. After her death, the fate of the brand was genuinely uncertain for a time. It was not until German designer Karl Lagerfeld took the role of creative director in 1983 that Chanel blazed brilliantly again in the modern era. Karl Lagerfeld held that position for 36 years, until his own death in 2019. Today both brands occupy the very summit of global luxury. Louis Vuitton is the flagship brand of the LVMH group. LVMH is the world's largest luxury conglomerate. Its portfolio includes Dior, Givenchy, Fendi, Hennessy, and Moët, among dozens of others. Its valuation has exceeded $300 billion. Chanel, by contrast, chose an entirely different path. It remains to this day a completely independent private company, not listed on any stock exchange, not sold to any conglomerate, refusing all outside investors. This decision is itself a profoundly Chanel-like stance. Free, independent, uncompromising. Part 4. What they left behind. Every time Jenny finishes telling the story of a great master, the same question comes to mind. What did they leave behind? The answer to that question is often more profound than the story itself. Louis Vuitton left behind a belief about travel. He believed that travel is more than moving from one place to another. Travel is a spirit of exploration. It is a way of moving through life with curiosity and openness. And great luggage and great tools are the physical expression of that spirit. He showed us that an object can be more than an object. It can be the vessel of a dream. Coco Chanel left behind a belief about women. She believed that women should not be ornamental flower vases, should not be delicate displays that need another person's help to dress and undress. Women should be free. They should be capable of action. They should possess power. Her designs were the visual declaration of this belief. Every tweed suit, every little black dress, said the same thing. You have the right to live freely. Together, the two of them left behind something even larger. A belief that beauty is not the exclusive property of the privileged. Beauty is something that every single person has the right to pursue. Louis Vuitton was born in poverty and created the world's most storied luxury brand. Coco Chanel walked out of an orphanage and defined the elegance of the modern woman. Their stories say the same thing. Where you come from does not matter. What matters is the way you choose to look at the world, and what you are willing to do with your own two hands to change it. Louis Vuitton and Coco Chanel. One turned travel into an aesthetic. The other gave women their freedom. These two souls who started at the very bottom spent their lives telling us the same truth. You do not need to be born with a silver spoon. You only need hands willing to work, and a heart that will never give up. And here is perhaps the most remarkable thing about both of them. Neither of them set out to build a luxury brand. Louis Vuitton set out to solve a problem. He wanted to make a better trunk. A trunk that would not get damp. A trunk that could be stacked. A trunk that would survive the journey. Coco Chanel set out to solve a problem too. She wanted to make clothes that women could actually wear. Clothes that did not require suffering. Clothes that respected the body rather than torturing it. Neither of them began by thinking about empire. Neither of them began by thinking about legacy. They began by thinking about the person in front of them. The traveler with the broken trunk. The woman in the uncomfortable corset. And it was precisely this focus on the real and the human that made everything they built so enduring. The greatest brands in the world are not built on ambition alone. They are built on empathy. On the ability to truly understand what another person needs. And to deliver it with skill and care and integrity. That is the deepest lesson that Louis Vuitton and Coco Chanel have left for all of us. Not just those who work in fashion. But anyone who has ever wanted to create something that lasts. There is one more thing worth dwelling on before we close. Both Louis Vuitton and Coco Chanel understood something that many ambitious people miss entirely. They understood the difference between what is fashionable and what is true. Fashionable things come and go. They are tied to a moment, to a season, to a passing mood in the culture. True things remain. Louis Vuitton did not make trendy trunks. He made trunks that worked. That solved real problems. That served the traveler who needed to trust them completely. The aesthetic of those trunks evolved over time. But the underlying principle never changed. Make the finest possible thing. Serve the person who will use it. Never compromise on quality for the sake of speed or profit. Coco Chanel did not make clothes that chased the fashions of other designers. She made clothes that answered a question that no one had answered clearly before. How should a modern woman dress? A woman who works. Who moves. Who thinks. Who does not have time to be a decorative object. Her answer was radical in her time. But it was also simply true. And because it was true, it has lasted. 100 years from now, people will still wear little black dresses. 100 years from now, people will still carry luggage inspired by the flat-top trunks that a 14-year-old boy from Anchy dreamed of making when he set off to walk to Paris. That is the power of truth over fashion. And that is the deepest lesson of both their lives. That is the story for this episode of Thinker J. Jenny wants to leave you with one final image. Somewhere in a workshop in Asnières, France, right now, there are craftsmen and craftswomen working at benches. Cutting leather. Stitching canvas. Assembling by hand the same kinds of trunks and bags that Louis first made on the Rue Neuve des Capucines in 1854. The hands doing the work are different. The tools are more refined. But the intention is the same. To make the finest possible thing. To honor the person who will carry it. And somewhere on the Rue Cambon in Paris, right now, there is a studio where the next Chanel collection is being assembled. Tweed is being draped over mannequins. Details are being considered and reconsidered. The ghost of a woman who grew up in an orphanage and walked into the most powerful rooms in the world in clothes made from athletic fabric is present in every decision. What would she say? She would say, take it away. Simplify. Remove everything that is not necessary. Trust the woman inside the clothes. Two different workshops. Two different worlds. One shared understanding. That beauty and truth are not separate things. That the most honest work is also the most beautiful. I hope the legends of Louis Vuitton and Coco Chanel bring you a little strength and inspiration. See you next time.